The afternoon sun streamed through the airport's large windows as Lisa Chen stood at the first-class boarding gate, ticket in hand. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and adjusted her backpack while keeping an eye on her two children. Her daughter May, just 6 years old, was half asleep against her leg, while her 8-year-old son Kai fidgeted with a small toy plane, making quiet zooming noises. Lisa checked her watch and smiled. After 3 years of working overtime as a corporate lawyer, juggling client meetings with parent-teacher conferences, she had finally saved enough to buy first-class tickets. Her mother's health was getting worse, and Lisa wanted to make the cross-country journey as comfortable as possible for her kids. The thought of reclining seats and extra legroom made the steep price worth every penny. Next group for boarding, first-class passengers may now approach the gate, announced a voice over the speaker. That's us, kids, Lisa said, gently rousing May. Let's go see Grandma. The line moved quickly as business travelers in pressed suits and polished shoes filed through. When Lisa reached the front, she handed over their boarding passes with a tired smile. The gate agent, a slim man with a crisp uniform and a name tag that read Trevor, glanced at the tickets, then at Lisa in her comfortable jeans and well-worn sweater, and finally at her children. His eyebrows lifted slightly. First class? His tone made it sound like a question, though the tickets clearly showed their seats. Yes, Lisa replied, fishing out her ID. We've been saving up for this trip. Trevor's eyes narrowed as he looked over their tickets again, taking much longer than he had with previous passengers. He lowered his voice. I'm sorry, but there seems to be an issue with your boarding. Lisa blinked in confusion. What issue? The tickets are paid for. I checked us in online this morning. Well, Trevor said, his voice carrying just enough for nearby passengers to hear. First class has certain standards, a dress code policy. Lisa looked down at her casual outfit, chosen specifically for comfort during the 6-hour flight with 2 young children. Nothing in her confirmation email had mentioned a dress code. Excuse me? Perhaps you'd be more comfortable in economy, Trevor suggested with a thin smile. I could see about switching your seats. Heat rose to Lisa's cheeks as she felt eyes turn toward them. Behind her, a businessman in line cleared his throat impatiently. There must be some mistake, Lisa said firmly, keeping her voice level for her children's sake. I specifically purchased first-class tickets to make traveling with my kids easier. Kai looked up at his mother, confusion crossing his face. Aren't we getting on the plane, Mom? We are, honey, Lisa assured him, though uncertainty crept into her voice. She turned back to Trevor. Can you please show me where this dress code policy is written? I didn't see anything about it when I booked. Trevor's smile remained fixed, in place. It's at the discretion of the gate staff. Our first-class passengers expect a certain ambiance. His eyes flickered meaningfully toward May, who had started to whine softly from tiredness. My daughter is just sleepy, Lisa explained, feeling a growing knot in her stomach. She'd been looking forward to this trip for months, planning every detail to ensure it went smoothly. I'm going to have to ask you to step aside while we board our priority customers, Trevor said, gesturing to a spot away from the line. We can discuss alternatives afterward. Lisa felt her son's hand tighten around hers. Behind them, the line of passengers shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away, pretending not to notice, while others watched with undisguised curiosity. Mom, why can't we get on? Kai asked, his voice rising slightly in concern. It's okay, Lisa whispered, leading her children to the side as Trevor waved the next passenger forward with a suddenly cheerful, Good afternoon, sir. Welcome aboard. From their spot against the wall, Lisa watched as traveler after traveler was processed smoothly through the gate. Her heart sank when she noticed a man wearing jeans and a casual sweater, an outfit nearly identical to her own, being warmly welcomed into first class. May began to cry softly, tired and confused by the delay. Lisa knelt down to comfort her daughter, whispering reassurances while her mind raced. The cost of those tickets represented countless late nights at the office, working while her children slept at the office daycare. She'd skipped lunches out with colleagues and passed on new clothes for herself to afford this trip. A flight attendant passing by noticed Lisa comforting her crying child and paused. "Is everything okay here?" she asked, her name tag reading Diane. "We're being denied boarding in first class," Lisa explained quietly. "Apparently there's a dress code I wasn't informed about when I purchased the tickets." Diane frowned slightly. "That's strange. I've worked first class on this route for 5 years, and we've never had a formal dress code policy." Hope flickered in Lisa's chest. "That's what I thought. But the gate agent insisted." "Let me check with him," Diane offered, walking over to speak with Trevor. Lisa watched as they conversed in low tones. Trevor's posture stiffened, and he shook his head firmly. When Diane returned, her expression was apologetic. "I'm sorry. He's insisting there's a policy. I've never heard of it, but gate agents have final say on boarding issues. Final boarding call for Flight 372 to Boston," announced the speaker overhead. Panic fluttered in Lisa's chest. They couldn't miss this flight. Her mother was expecting them, and the kids had school on Monday. She approached the counter again, this time with Diane beside her. "Trevor," Lisa said, working to keep her voice steady as May continued sniffling beside her. "I need to understand exactly what policy is preventing us from boarding with valid tickets." Trevor's eyes darted between Lisa and Diane. With other passengers now gone, he leaned forward slightly. "Look," he said in a lower voice. "First class has a certain type of customer. Single moms with crying kids aren't really what our premium passengers expect when they pay top dollar." Lisa felt as if she'd been slapped. She'd faced subtle discrimination before. The raised eyebrows when she mentioned being both a mother and a lawyer specializing in corporate cases. The assumptions that she couldn't handle big clients with her family obligations. But never had someone been so blatant. Diane started to object, clearly shocked by Trevor's comment. "That's discrimination," Lisa finished firmly, her lawyer's mind clicking into gear despite her emotional turmoil. "And it's against company policy and federal law." Trevor straightened his tie, unimpressed. "You can take it up with customer service if you like, but right now I need to close this gate in 5 minutes. Kai tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Mom, are we going to see Grandma?" Lisa looked down at her son's worried face, then at her daughter's tears. Something shifted inside her, a quiet determination replacing the humiliation and panic. "Yes, we are," she said, reaching for her phone. "We definitely are." What Trevor didn't know as he started shutting down his computer was that Lisa Chen wasn't just any corporate lawyer. She specialized in discrimination law at one of the country's top firms. More importantly, her biggest client was Global Partners, the very company that had recently bought this airline. As she dialed a number, Lisa caught Diane's eye and gave her a small, knowing smile. Some battles weren't worth fighting, but this one mattered. Lisa stood to the side of the boarding area, one arm around May, who had finally stopped crying and now leaned heavily against her mother's side. With her free hand, Lisa scrolled through her contacts, searching for the right number. Kai paced, back and forth in front of them, his toy plane still clutched in his small hand. "Mom, we're going to miss the plane," he said, worry creasing his forehead. "Just give me 1 minute, sweetie," Lisa replied, trying to keep her voice calm despite the storm brewing inside her. She watched as Trevor helped an elderly couple with their boarding passes, his smile wide and genuine. The contrast between his treatment of them and her family made her jaw clench. The final boarding announcement echoed through the terminal. Lisa took a deep breath and looked up just in time to see a man in his 30s approach the counter. He wore faded jeans and a simple gray t-shirt with sneakers, an outfit even more casual than her own. His backpack looked worn at the edges, much like hers. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome aboard." Trevor's voice rang out with enthusiasm. "Enjoy your flight in first class today." Lisa felt her cheeks burn. The double standard was so obvious it almost took her breath away. She squeezed May's shoulder gently and stepped forward, Kai following closely behind. "Excuse me," she said, her voice steady, despite her pounding heart. "That gentleman is wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I thought you said first class had a dress code policy. Trevor's smile froze on his face. Other passengers nearby slowed their movements, sensing the tension in the air. His attire meets our standards, Trevor replied stiffly. How exactly is his different from mine? Lisa pressed, gesturing to her own jeans and sweater. Trevor glanced around, noticing the small audience they'd attracted. He lowered his voice. Ma'am, if you continue to make a scene, I'll have to call security. I'm simply asking for clarification on a policy that's being applied inconsistently, Lisa said, matching his quiet tone. That's hardly making a scene. Diane, the flight attendant who had spoken with Lisa earlier, approached from the jet bridge. Trevor, they're asking about the final passenger count. Trevor shot her a look. Tell them we're -3. These passengers won't be joining us today. That's not your decision to make, Lisa replied, her lawyer's instincts kicking in. We have valid tickets and you haven't provided any legitimate reason to deny us boarding. Trevor leaned closer, his professionally pleasant mask slipping. Look, we have standards about who belongs in first class, he whispered harshly. Single moms with kids don't really fit the profile of our premium customers. They disrupt the experience for business travelers who pay good money for peace and quiet. Lisa felt as if the ground had shifted beneath her feet. The blatant discrimination was shocking even to her, someone who dealt with subtle forms of bias in her professional life regularly. Behind her, Diane gasped softly, having overheard Trevor's words. You did not just say that, Diane said in disbelief. Trevor straightened up, suddenly aware that he'd crossed a line. I'm simply enforcing company standards for first-class travel, he said stiffly. Lisa bent down to her children's level. Kai, can you hold your sister's hand for just a minute? I need to make an important phone call. Kai nodded seriously, taking his role as temporary caretaker to heart. Is that man being mean because we don't have a dad? He asked, his young face showing more understanding than Lisa had expected. The question hit her like a physical blow. Even at 8, her son could recognize discrimination when he saw it. She touched his cheek gently. Some people think families should look a certain way, but that's not true, and what he's doing isn't right. Lisa stepped a few feet away, still keeping her children in view. Her hands trembled slightly as she scrolled through her contacts. What Trevor and possibly the airline didn't realize was that Lisa Chen wasn't an ordinary lawyer. She specialized in discrimination cases at Powell & Reed, one of the country's most prestigious firms. More significantly, her biggest client was Heritage Global, the international conglomerate that had purchased this very airline just 3 months ago. Lisa had personally led the legal team during the complicated acquisition, working directly with the company's CEO, Vincent Thompson. She'd spent countless hours ensuring the deal went through smoothly, often taking video calls from her office late at night after her children had fallen asleep on the small couch she'd placed there for exactly such occasions. As she pressed the call button, Lisa caught Diane's eye. The flight attendant had positioned herself between Trevor and Lisa's children, engaging them in conversation about the toy plane Kai was holding. Lisa Chen answered a deep voice on the other end after just 2 rings. This is unexpected. Aren't you supposed to be visiting your mother this weekend? Hello, Vincent, Lisa replied, relief washing over her at hearing a friendly voice. I'm actually at the airport right now, but we're having a situation. What's happening? Vincent's tone shifted immediately from casual to concerned. Lisa explained quickly, keeping her voice low but clear. She described Trevor's behavior, his comments about single mothers not belonging in first class, and the inconsistent application of a supposed dress code that seemed to only apply to her family. I'm recording this interaction, she added, having started a voice memo on her phone earlier, her lawyer's instinct for documentation kicking in. The gate agent explicitly said that single moms with kids don't fit the profile of premium customers. His exact words. There was silence on the other end for a moment. Then Vincent spoke, his voice now steel. Stay exactly where you are, Lisa. Don't move from that gate. The flight is about to leave, Lisa began. It won't, Vincent cut in. Not without you and your children in your rightful seats. Trust me on this. Lisa ended the call and returned to her children. Kai looked up at her with hopeful eyes. Are we going to see Grandma now? Very soon, Lisa promised, noticing that Trevor was now on the phone himself, his face growing increasingly pale as he listened to whoever was on the other end. Diane approached Lisa with a tentative smile. I don't know what's happening, but something's definitely happening, she whispered. Trevor just got a call from someone important, very important, from the look on his face. Lisa simply nodded, allowing herself a small smile. She'd worked too hard, sacrificed too many hours with her children to be treated this way by someone who thought she didn't belong in a seat she had rightfully purchased. The minutes ticked by slowly. Travelers hurried past to other gates, some glancing curiously at the small family still waiting by the nearly empty gate. May had fallen asleep against her brother's shoulder, and Kai was doing his best to stay still for her sake. Final boarding call for Flight 372, Trevor announced mechanically into the microphone, his earlier confidence notably diminished. Just as he finished speaking, the door to the terminal burst open. A small group of people in business attire walked, purposefully toward the gate, their expressions serious. The person leading the group, a tall woman in an impeccable suit, focused immediately on Lisa and her children. Trevor's face drained of all remaining color. The tall woman in the impeccable suit strode directly to Lisa, her heels clicking purposefully against the terminal floor. Behind her, 4 other people in business attire followed, their expressions serious but controlled. Ms. Chen? The woman asked, extending her hand. I'm Patricia Reynolds, Regional Director of Operations. Vincent called me personally. Lisa shifted May, who was now awake and staring wide-eyed at the newcomers, and shook Patricia's hand. Thank you for coming, though I didn't expect this. She gestured to the small entourage. Patricia gave a tight smile. When the CEO of Heritage Global calls about discrimination against the very attorney who handled his company's acquisition of our airline, things happen quickly. She turned her attention to the children. And these must be Kai and May. Vincent mentioned you were on your way to visit your mother. Kai puffed up with importance at being addressed by name by such an official-looking person. We're going to see our grandma. She's sick. Patricia's expression softened momentarily before she turned toward the gate, where Trevor stood frozen behind the counter. The other executives had already surrounded him, one of them speaking in hushed but clearly angry tones. If you'll follow. Me, Ms. Chen, we'd like to get you and your children on the plane immediately, Patricia said, gesturing toward the jet bridge. I believe you'll find your first-class seats ready and waiting. Trevor opened his mouth as they approached, but Patricia cut him off with a sharp look. Not another word, she said quietly. Mr. Thompson is waiting for a full report, and I promise, you'll have plenty of opportunity to explain yourself to human resources. One of the other executives, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, stepped forward. I'm Anthony Park, head of customer experience, he said, extending his hand first to Lisa and then with a smile to Kai. Would it be all right if I carried your backpack for you, young man? You've got your hands full with that cool airplane. Kai nodded solemnly and allowed Anthony to take his small backpack. Mom, what's happening? May whispered, clinging to Lisa's hand as they were escorted toward the jet bridge. We're going to see Grandma, Lisa replied, squeezing her daughter's hand reassuringly. These nice people are helping us. As they walked past Trevor, Lisa noticed his face had gone from pale to flushed with humiliation. Diane, the flight attendant who had tried to help earlier, stood nearby with barely concealed satisfaction. I'll be your cabin attendant for the flight, Diane said, falling into step beside them. I've already prepared your seats with pillows and blankets for the children. The walkway to the plane seemed longer than usual as Lisa processed what was happening. She'd made the call to Vincent expecting perhaps a strongly worded email to the airline's management, maybe a refund or an upgrade on a future flight. Instead, within 20 minutes, the regional director and a team of executives had appeared, treating her family like VIPs. I didn't mean to cause such a disruption, Lisa said quietly to Patricia as they neared the aircraft door. Patricia slowed her pace slightly, allowing the others to move ahead with the children. Ms. Chen, what happened today isn't just about you and your family, though that would be reason enough for action. It's about a fundamental failure in our company culture that needs correction. Vincent was livid, to put it mildly. He's always been passionate about fair treatment, Lisa acknowledged, remembering the CEO's strong stance during the acquisition negotiations. The fact that this happened to you specifically is ironic, given your role in the acquisition, Patricia continued. But it makes me wonder how many other passengers have faced similar treatment without having a direct line to the CEO. Lisa nodded thoughtfully. As a discrimination attorney, she knew all too well how often such incidents went unreported or unaddressed. Before she could respond, they reached the plane door where the captain was waiting, his expression concerned. Ms. Chen? I'm Captain Rodriguez. I want to personally welcome you and your children aboard and apologize for the inexcusable treatment you received. Lisa was taken aback by the captain's presence. Thank you, but you really don't need to. I'm afraid I do, he said firmly. What happens at our boarding gates reflects on all of us. He bent slightly to address Kai and May. I hear you two are flying first class today. Would you like to see the cockpit before we take off? Kai's eyes widened to saucers. Really? We can see where you drive the plane? The captain laughed. We call it flying rather than driving, but yes, I'd be happy to show you. As the children followed the captain, Lisa turned to Patricia. This is all very kind, but I don't want special treatment. I just wanted what I paid for, to board the flight I purchased tickets for. This isn't special treatment, Patricia replied. This is corrective action. There's a difference. She gestured for Lisa to enter the plane. After you. Inside, the first-class cabin was nearly full. Business travelers looked up curiously as Lisa and the airline executives entered. Anthony led them to their seats, which had indeed been prepared, with extra pillows and small comfort kits for the children. Ladies and gentlemen, Patricia announced to the first-class cabin, I apologize for the delay in our departure today. We experienced an unfortunate incident at the gate that required immediate attention. A murmur went through the cabin. A businessman in the front row raised his hand. Is this going to be a long delay? I have a connecting flight. We'll be departing shortly, Patricia assured him. However, I believe some context is appropriate. One of our gate agents attempted to deny boarding to a passenger and her children. She gestured to Lisa. Despite their having valid first-class tickets, the stated reason was a non-existent dress code, but the actual reason, as the agent later admitted, was discrimination against single parents traveling with children. A shocked silence fell over the cabin. That's disgraceful, said an older woman across the aisle. Patricia nodded in agreement. It is indeed, which is why I want to assure all of you that this behavior does not represent our airline's values. The employee in question has been removed from duty pending a full investigation. As she spoke, Diane was helping May and Kai get settled in their seats, showing them how to use the entertainment systems. The captain returned from showing them the cockpit, giving Lisa a respectful nod before heading back to prepare for takeoff. Patricia lowered her voice, speaking just to Lisa now. Vincent asked me to let you know that he'd like to speak with you when you land. He has some ideas he'd like to discuss about improving our company policies. Of course, Lisa replied, still slightly overwhelmed by the response her simple phone call had triggered. As the executives prepared to deplane, Anthony handed Lisa a business card. My direct line, he said. If you or your children need anything during the flight or upon arrival, please don't hesitate to call. Once they were gone, Lisa sank into her seat, feeling the adrenaline that had kept her going start to fade. Kai was already deeply engrossed in a cartoon on his screen, while May cuddled against her side, a small stuffed animal from the comfort kit clutched in her hands. Are you okay, Mom? May asked, looking up with concerned eyes that sometimes seemed too wise for her 6 years. Lisa hugged her daughter close. Yes, sweetheart, I'm more than okay. As the plane began to push back from the gate, Lisa looked out the window at the terminal building. One phone call had changed everything, not just for her family today, but potentially for countless other families in the future. The flight was smoother than Lisa had expected. May fell asleep within the first hour, curled up in the spacious first-class seat with a blanket tucked around her small shoulders. Kai alternated between watching movies on his screen and peppering Diane with questions about how planes work whenever she passed by. "Your kids are wonderful," Diane commented quietly as she refreshed Lisa's drink. "Honestly, they're better behaved than most of the adults I serve up here." Lisa smiled, glancing at her sleeping daughter. "They've had to grow up a bit faster than I would have liked. It's been just the three of us since May was 2. Diane nodded understandingly. "My sister's raising 2 on her own. It's not easy." She hesitated, then added, "I want you to know that most of us aren't like Trevor. What he said about single moms not belonging in first class, that's not how the rest of us think." "I know," Lisa assured her. "One person doesn't represent an entire company." "Still," Diane replied, "it makes me wonder how many other passengers have been treated poorly without having a direct line to the CEO." She smiled wryly. "That was quite the phone call you made." Lisa flushed slightly. "I didn't expect such an immediate response. I just wanted to board the plane we had tickets for." "Sometimes it takes a big reaction to address a systemic problem," Diane said thoughtfully. "Anyway, we'll be landing in about 40 minutes. Is there anything you or the kids need before we begin our descent?" After Diane moved on to other passengers, Lisa gazed out the window at the clouds below. She had mixed feelings about what had happened. On one hand, she was glad the discrimination had been addressed so promptly. On the other hand, she couldn't help wondering about all the people who experienced similar treatment without having connections to powerful people. As the plane began its descent, Kai pressed his face against the window, watching with fascination as the ground came closer. May woke up, groggy and confused until Lisa reminded her they were going to see Grandma soon. "Will the mean man be at the airport when we land?" May asked, her voice small. Lisa stroked her daughter's hair. "No, sweetie, and he wasn't mean because of anything you did. Some grown-ups just have wrong ideas about people." "Because we don't have a dad?" May asked, echoing her brother's earlier question. Lisa took a deep breath. "Some people think families should all look the same, but they're wrong. Families come in all different shapes and sizes, and ours is perfect just the way it is." The plane touched down smoothly, and as they taxied to the gate, Lisa noticed something unusual through the window. A small group of people was waiting on the tarmac next to the terminal, something she'd never seen before for a regular domestic flight. "Mom, look," Kai pointed. "Are those people waiting for us?" Before Lisa could answer, the captain's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Boston. Local time is 4:15 p.m. and the temperature is a pleasant 68 degrees. We ask that you remain seated while we complete our arrival process." He paused. "I'd also like to inform Ms. Chen and her family that there will be associates meeting you as you deplane. They'll assist with your connection to your final destination." Murmurs spread through the cabin as passengers speculated about the announcement. Lisa felt her cheeks warm as curious glances were cast in her direction. "Are we famous now?" Kai whispered excitedly. Lisa laughed softly. "No, honey. Just well taken care of, apparently." When the seatbelt sign turned off, Diane appeared at their row. "If you don't mind waiting until the other passengers have deplaned, your escort is ready whenever you are." The wait wasn't long. Most of the first-class passengers moved quickly, though several nodded respectfully to Lisa as they passed. One older woman even paused to quietly say, "Good for you, dear, standing up for yourself and your little ones." As the last passengers filed out, a man in a crisp uniform appeared at the door of the aircraft. "Ms. Chen, I'm Carlos from VIP Services. Mr. Thompson asked that we ensure your seamless transfer to your connecting flight." "We don't have a connecting flight," Lisa explained, gathering their carry-on bags. "My mother is picking us up." Carlos smiled. "Mr. Thompson thought you might appreciate a ride instead. Your mother has been contacted and is expecting you at her home. We have a car waiting to take you directly there." Lisa blinked in surprise. "That's very thoughtful, but unnecessary." "Mom," Kai interrupted, tugging at her sleeve. "Can we take the special car? Please?" Looking at her son's excited face, Lisa relented. All right, thank you, Carlos. They followed him through a side door of the jet bridge into a private corridor that bypassed the main terminal. May clung to Lisa's hand, wide-eyed at the special treatment, while Kai walked with his chest puffed out importantly. Your luggage is being collected and will be loaded directly into your car, Carlos explained as he led them through the quiet hallway. Mr. Thompson also wanted me to inform you that he'll be calling you tomorrow morning rather than today. He thought you might appreciate time with your family first. Lisa was touched by the consideration. Please thank him for me. At the end of the corridor, a door opened to reveal a sleek black car waiting on the tarmac. The driver, a friendly-looking woman, stood beside it with the rear door open. This is Rita. She'll be your driver today, Carlos said. The journey to your mother's home should take approximately 40 minutes. Kai could barely contain his excitement. This is like being in a movie. As they settled into the luxurious car, Lisa's phone rang. It was her mother. Lisa, are you all right? I got the strangest call from someone at the airline saying they were sending you in a private car. We're fine, Mom, Lisa assured her. There was a situation at the airport, but it's been resolved. I'll explain everything when we get there. They said something about discrimination? Her mother's voice was tight with concern. It's okay now, Lisa said, watching as Kai and May pressed their faces against the windows, marveling at the special treatment. More than okay, actually. As the car pulled away from the terminal, Lisa noticed a large digital billboard on the airport grounds. It displayed the airline's logo and a new slogan, "Everyone belongs in our skies." She wondered if it was new or if she'd simply never noticed it before. Rita caught her gaze in the rearview mirror. That just went up this afternoon, she said. Apparently there was some kind of company-wide announcement. All flights were delayed by about an hour for staff training. Lisa stared at the billboard in disbelief. All flights? Across the entire airline? Rita nodded. That's what I heard. Something big happened today. Lisa sat back in her seat, processing this information. Her simple phone call had apparently triggered far more than just her family being allowed to board their flight. What exactly had Vincent done? As they drove away from the airport, May cuddled against her side. Mom, are you a superhero? You made the mean man go away and now we're in a fancy car. Lisa laughed softly, hugging her daughter close. Not a superhero, sweetie. Just someone who knows it's important to speak up when something isn't right. The car turned onto the highway, heading toward her mother's home in the suburbs. Whatever Vincent had set in motion, Lisa would find out tomorrow. For now, she was content to enjoy this unexpected ending to what had started as a terrible day. The weekend with Lisa's mother passed in a blur of home-cooked meals and childhood stories. Grandma's health seemed better than Lisa had feared, though the medication schedule taped to the refrigerator door spoke of ongoing concerns. The kids soaked up every moment of attention from their grandmother, who spoiled them with cookies and forgotten toys from Lisa's own childhood. Only once did Lisa fully explain what had happened at the airport, late at night after the children were asleep. Her mother listened with wide eyes, reaching for Lisa's hand when she described Trevor's comment about single mothers not belonging in first class. The nerve of that man, her mother said, shaking her head. I raised you alone after your father died, and not once did anyone dare speak to me that way. Times change, but some attitudes don't, Lisa replied, squeezing her mother's hand. But enough people do care about making things right. That's what matters. Monday morning came all too soon. As promised, Vincent called just after breakfast. Lisa took the call in her mother's garden, watching through the window as Kai helped his grandmother water her houseplants while May colored at the kitchen table. Lisa, I hope you and your children had a good weekend. Vincent's voice was warm but businesslike. We did, thank you. And thank you for arranging the car service. That was unnecessary but very kind. It was the least we could do. Vincent paused. I wanted to update you on what's happened since Friday. Lisa settled onto a garden bench. I noticed the new billboard at the airport. Everyone belongs in our skies. Is that new? Brand new, Vincent confirmed. Part of our immediate response. But that's just the beginning. Vincent explained that after receiving Lisa's call, he had immediately contacted the airline's board of directors for an emergency meeting. The decision had been unanimous. This incident revealed a deeper problem that required immediate and decisive action. We suspended all flights for 1 hour company-wide, Vincent said. Every employee, from pilots to baggage handlers to reservation agents, participated in an emergency briefing about our anti-discrimination policies. Lisa was stunned. You shut down the entire airline? That must have cost millions, Vincent finished matter-of-factly. And worth every penny. Some things matter more than money, and this is one of them. He went on to explain that Trevor had been suspended pending a formal review, but the response went far beyond one employee. The airline was implementing a comprehensive anti-discrimination training program that would become mandatory for all staff. They were also reviewing all customer complaints from the past year to identify any pattern of similar incidents. The thing is, Lisa, Vincent continued, his voice growing more serious, we need someone to lead this effort. Someone who understands discrimination law but also has personal experience with these issues. Someone who can help us create policies that actually work in real-world situations. Lisa's breath caught. Vincent, are you offering me a job? I'm creating one specifically for you, if you're interested. Director of Inclusivity and Customer Advocacy. Reporting directly to me. We'd work around your schedule with your children, of course. Part-time to start, with flexible hours and remote work options. Lisa's mind raced. She hadn't been looking for a career change. Her work at the law firm was stable, prestigious, but often dry, filled with corporate mergers and acquisitions rather than the discrimination cases that had drawn her to law in the first place. I don't know what to say, Lisa admitted. You don't have to decide now, Vincent assured her. Take some time to think about it. But I will say this. What happened to you and your children shouldn't happen to anyone. And who better to ensure it doesn't than someone who's experienced it firsthand? After the call ended, Lisa sat in the garden for a long time watching a butterfly flit between her mother's roses. The possibilities swirled in her mind. A chance to make real change, to prevent other families from facing what hers had. But also a new direction, unplanned and unexpected. She was still sitting there when Kai pushed open the screen door and bounded out to the garden. Mom, Grandma says we can help make dumplings for lunch, the kind you loved when you were little. Lisa smiled. That sounds wonderful. I'll be right in. Were you talking to someone important? Kai asked, noticing her thoughtful expression. Was it about the mean man at the airplane? Lisa patted the bench beside her, and Kai sat down. It was the big boss of the airline. He wants me to help make sure what happened to us doesn't happen to other families. Kai considered this seriously. Would you still be our mom if you did that job? The question made Lisa laugh. Of course I would. I'd always be your mom first. That would never change. But would you still be a lawyer too? Yes, but a different kind of lawyer. One who helps make things fairer for people like us. Kai nodded, seeming satisfied. I think you should do it. Then other kids won't have to. Feel bad like May did when that man was mean. From the mouths of babes, Lisa thought. She hugged her son close, inhaling the scent of his hair. A mix of her mother's lavender shampoo and the distinct smell that was uniquely Kai. Inside the house, the phone rang again. Lisa heard her mother answer it, then call out through the open window. Lisa, it's Patricia from the airline. She says it's on the news. Lisa and Kai hurried inside. The television in the living room was turned to a local news channel. A reporter stood outside the airline's headquarters, speaking into a microphone. Sources say the airline implemented an unprecedented company-wide operations pause on Friday afternoon for emergency anti-discrimination training. This comes after an incident involving a single mother and her children, who were allegedly denied boarding despite having valid first-class tickets. The report continued, showing brief footage of passengers waiting at gates across the country during the delay. No names were mentioned, but Lisa recognized the story immediately as her own. That's us, Kai exclaimed, pointing at the TV. We're famous. Lisa's mother muted the television and turned to her daughter with wide eyes. Did you know this would happen? Lisa shook her head, still processing the news report. What had begun as a simple phone call had transformed into something much larger, a moment of reckoning for an entire company, a potential career change for herself, and perhaps, most importantly, a lesson for her children about standing up against unfairness. Mei Dao wandered in from the kitchen, her fingers dusted with flour from the dumpling making. What's everyone looking at? Lisa scooped up her daughter, flour and all. Just seeing how one person speaking up can change things for everyone. Like you did, Mom? Mei asked. Like I did, Lisa confirmed with a smile. And like you can do too, whenever something isn't right. Later that evening, as Lisa packed their bags for the return flight home, her phone buzzed with a text message from Vincent. Boarding passes for tomorrow's flight attached. First class, of course, the crew has been briefed. You'll find things very different this time, and the offer stands. The world needs more people willing to make that call. Lisa smiled to herself. The world did need more people willing to speak up, and maybe, just maybe, she was in a position to help make that happen.